Welcome to The Author Show, where we present new authors and books. From fiction to self-help and everything in between, you'll find it all here. To watch the TV version of our program, visit authorswebtv.com. That's authorswebtv.com. And now, let the show begin.
Hello and welcome back to the show. This is your host, Don McCauley. Today we're welcoming the program author L. Sidney Fisher, and Sidney is the author of The Haunted Prophecy of Natalie Bradford. Sidney developed a love of writing during her childhood years. She enjoys writing thrillers and has over 20 years' experience in paranormal research. She earned a Bachelor of English from the University of Mississippi and a Master's in Education from the University of Missouri. When she isn't writing, she's searching for her next inspiration. She loves research and enjoys studying NASA exploration, military history, ancient history, supernatural wonders, and unexplained phenomena. Sidney, how are you?
Doing good, thank you.
Let's start with the big question. Tell us about your book, please.
The Haunted Prophecy of Natalie Bradford is based on true events. The story opens on December the 21st, 1974, with Liz Bradford being murdered on the front parking lot of the Rex Plaza Motel that is located in Elvis Presley's hometown of Tupelo, Mississippi. Her husband, Devin Bradford, is also involved in the shooting and transported to North Mississippi Medical Center, where he first crosses Natalie's path. She is his operating room nurse and has no idea that within 3 years she will be married to a killer. Now, the story includes Devin Bradford's murder trial, the haunting at Lindenwood, which is Devin's stately home, and prophetic coincidences that seem to paint a picture of what's coming for Natalie. Natalie Houston was a non-believer in the spiritual world, but she got an introduction that would change her thinking for the rest of her life.
So who did you write your book for specifically?
Anyone between the ages of 15 and above who likes paranormal thrillers, true crime, supernatural suspense, mysteries. Some horror fans enjoy this. Because the story is based on true events, the book speaks to a broad audience, but to be very specific, some statistical data reports that 75% of Americans believe in the paranormal. Of that 75%, many of them are professionals and well-educated individuals. All of them can't be suffering from the same hallucinations or delusions, and even 90% of people who have had a near-death experience later reported experiences with the paranormal. So it does speak to a broad audience of individuals.
Now, would you say there's any type of central message or perhaps underlying theme that you could say runs throughout your book?
There is most definitely a central message. There are a number of prophetic coincidences or synchronicities that are prevalent throughout this story. A synchronicity is otherwise known as a meaningful coincidence. That term was coined by Carl Jung during the 1940s. Basically, what this means to us is that there are no accidents. There are no coincidences in life. Everything has meaning. And if we are paying attention, we will find answers, solutions, and help to everyday situations that we find ourselves in. Natalie Bradford found herself entangled in a series of prophetic coincidences that foretold her future and revealed her lover's guilt. Denial can be deadly.
If you had to choose, what would you say is the single most important idea you're sharing in your book that's really going to add value to the reader's life?
The most important idea that I can give my readers through this story is the importance of being observant and discerning in your daily life. Listen and pay attention to divine communications or signs that you may be receiving. Be open to the possibility of divine communication and know that every solution you're searching for may be right in front of you.
Now, if you could compare your book with any book out there we might already be familiar with, which book would it be and why?
I can think of two. The first book that this story reminded me of was Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, based in Savannah, Georgia. That book was published in 1994 and later adapted into film. It was directed by Clint Eastwood and starred Kevin Spacey and John Cusack. It was also based on true events and had almost all of the same elements of supernatural suspense as this book does. The other book that comes to my mind is Anne Rule's Practice to Deceive, published in 2013. That story also had a theme of murder, and the crime happened around the same time of year that Liz Bradford was murdered in this story. The time frame was in December, near the Christmas holiday. In my book, The Haunted Prophecy of Natalie Bradford, Liz Bradford's children buried their mother on Christmas Eve morning.
What inspired you to write this book?
I have been writing since I was about about 8 years old. I never went looking for ghosts, but somehow found myself exposed to it through my association with the Bradfords. I am a living witness in this story. A few years ago, when I was enrolled in a writing course, I had to come up with a novel idea. My family encouraged me to write about this story, and years later, I secured a literary agent, but after they were unsuccessful in selling it to a traditional house, I did decide to self-publish through my own company.
Now, you enjoy research. What research areas do you enjoy most, and how do these inspire your writing projects?
I have a curious mind. I'm fascinated by the unexplained, and I love researching military history, true crime, supernatural wonders, some of the things that you mentioned at the beginning of our interview. I think I can best be described as Indiana Jones meets the X-Files. I love stumbling across a story that defies logic, a story that demands an open mind just to process it. Those are my curiosities, and most of my writing projects contain an element of truth based on some research that I have done.
Now, what is it that makes the setting relevant to the prophecy of Natalie Bradford?
The setting in this book is the Rex Plaza located in Tupelo, Mississippi. Now, the Rex Plaza was the first hotel-motel combination in the United States when it was built in 1941. It is also located on the main travel route during that time from Chicago to the coast of Mississippi. The establishment has a rich history of famous guests, lots of traveling salesmen, and scandalous love connections. It was a hot spot during this era, so Liz Bradford only worked there for a short time, but the rumors had already begun to circulate, and while her life ended here, Natalie Bradford's life with Liz's killer began here. There is that coincidental theme again, and you need to pay attention to how this is playing out.
So when did the interest in paranormal research begin for you?
When I was a child, as I mentioned before, I never went looking for ghosts. I don't think that anyone is a natural born ghost hunter. Our lives are shaped by our experiences, and this is how it happened for me. My first exposure to the paranormal was at Lindenwood, and when I experienced the unexplainable, I was simply overwhelmed with curiosity. That curiosity led to years of research and seeking answers. And these are questions that I began to ask myself. Such as, from a scientific perspective, we need to examine what consciousness is in order to satisfy our doubts. And I know that neuroscientists have been studying this for the past decade. Their research asks, if the brain and the mind are separate, what happens to the mind after the brain dies? Does it survive?
So what types of books do you most enjoy writing?
I consider myself a multi-genre writer, but I primarily enjoy supernatural suspense, thrillers, and mysteries. I do have some other projects that are lined up later next year, even in romantic humor, but those are slated for later next year and probably will be released under a different name.
What's been your most challenging research project to date?
My next book, due in November, is The Phoenix Mission. The research for this book has definitely taken me out of my comfort zone. During the 1990s, our government was running a secret military program that explored the capabilities of the human mind for intel purposes. This secret project was known as Stargate. The program included some of the most gifted remote viewers in the world. Remote viewing, for some of you who don't know what that means, it's another word for clairvoyance or clear seeing. This was the United States Psychic Spy Program. When I stumbled across Major Edward Dames's book, Tell Me What You See, I became absolutely mesmerized and read everything I could get my hands on. That fascination birthed a new book idea, and my character Seth Phoenix was born. The military project was actually shut down during Bill Clinton's administration in November of 1995. So it's interesting that here it is in November of 2015, I'm releasing this story, but I didn't plan it that way. It just happened that way.
So what was it like at Lindenwood, the haunted mansion in the story where Natalie lived?
Lindenwood was a huge home situated on a few acres of land. It was surrounded by trees, and the house was located on a county highway. It was directly across the highway from Liz Bradford's grave. Her grave was on a hillside that overlooked the house. If you stood on the second floor at Lindenwood Lindenwood and you looked out across, there was a huge window there, and you could see the tombstone every night if the moon was bright. And Lindenwood was always dark. It was always cold, no matter what you did. It was always cold in that house, and there were like 3 different fireplaces going at all times. The doors would open and shut at random. One time I was pushed very hard on the stairs, and I fell to the bottom of the stairs where my foot caught the side of a rotary telephone that was sitting at the bottom step, and it slashed my foot open. I've still got a scar to remind me of that.
What's been your most rewarding experience since publishing your book?
The most rewarding experience has been seeing the book hit multiple bestseller categories on Amazon. It's also very rewarding when someone tells me how much they enjoy the story. Usually people want me to talk more about the paranormal, and they seem eager to share their stories with me. I enjoy those conversations with my readers, and I love meeting them.
So if someone wrote a book about your life, what would the title be?
I think it would probably be Indiana Jones and the Ghost Chaser.
How would you describe your writing style?
I think my writing style is straightforward. It's no nonsense. It's relaxed and informal. I strive to be engaging and personable. I want my readers to feel as if I'm inviting them into my adventure as an equal partner on whatever expedition that I have decided to go on. It's just me and that reader, and we will explore together.
Who or what would you say influenced your writing the most?
There's been several. Anne Rule, James Patterson, Mary Higgins Clark, Stephen King. I love Stephen King. I love his whole story of his life and how it all played out for him, but he literally scares me to death, so I do not read Stephen King after dark. I've read many, many things of Dean Koontz. I am also a huge fan of Scott Walter from America Unearthed. I really wish that guy would let me just ride along on some of his adventures, and I also love Brad Meltzer on Decoded. When either of these shows are on the Military Channel, I get nothing else done around my home.
Other than selling your work, of course, is there anything else you hope to accomplish with it?
I am hoping that people will gain something from the research that I've done. I'm hoping, too, that they will enjoy the reading and stay with me for many years. And I hope that they get some of these messages from it.
In your opinion, who should buy this book?
If you're fascinated by the unexplained and find yourself seeking answers to life's problems, this book may intrigue you and motivate you to be more discerning and observant in your daily life. Natalie's story is the extreme of divine communication. She found herself in a dangerous situation, but could she have changed her future? Did she simply make bad decisions, or was it fate that brought her face to face with her killer?
Well, time is getting very short, so the most important question, where can readers find you and your book?
You can find me at lsydneyfisher.com. There are links to my books there. The books are available for sale on Amazon in print and digital editions.
Could you spell your name for us, please?
It's L, and then Sydney is SYDNEY, and Fisher is FISHER.
Well, this has been just great. Our guest today has been L. Sydney Fisher, and she's the author of The Haunted Prophecy of Natalie Bradford. Sydney, thanks very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
This is Don McCauley wrapping up another edition of The Author Show. Listen to some of your favorite authors every day, 24/7 by visiting theauthorshow.com. Just click on the book title in the player at the top of the page. These interviews are available to book buyers worldwide on demand. If you'd like to be a guest on the show and feel you could benefit by getting in front of your target audience with a high-quality media interview that'll make a real impact, visit www.theauthorshow.com, fill out the form, and we may be contacting you shortly. Join us here for another great book and another exciting author on The Author Show.
Thanks for listening to The Author Show. To contact us, call toll-free 1-877-955-8800. That's 877-55-8800. Or visit theauthorshow.com, theauthorshow.com. Tune in next time to another great author on The Author Show.